Club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, drinking.
Chapter 4 of compensation management will tackle about the key component of the pay model based on job analysis. So therefore, now Chapter 4 as a job analysis, we define it as a systematic method that focuses on describing the differences and similarities among jobs within an organization. Now, an intuitable internal pay structure has two hallmarks: to encourage employee behaviors to help achieve the objective of the organization, and to foster a sense of fairness among employees. Now, one of the first strategic pay decisions is how much to align a pay structure internally, as comparing it to aligning with external market forces. This is not an either or issue, not achieving internal alignment versus alignment with external market forces, but rather the strategic decisions focuses on sustaining the optimal balance of internally aligned and externally responsive pay structure that helps the organization achieve its mission. Now, pay design systems involves determining how much to emphasize a pay structure that is internally aligned with the work performed, the organization structure, and its strategies. Now, the chapter will also give us focuses on whether job and or individual employee characteristic will be the basic unit of analysis that is supporting the pay structure. Now, this is followed by deciding what job information will be collected and what method will be used to collect the information and who should be involved in the data collection process. A discussion further of the approach to summarize job data via a job description and a job specification will also be provided. The issues of the susceptibility of various jobs to offshoring and comparability across nations and countries in relation to job analysis are going to be also discussed in further. Now, the chapter will conclude by discussing the controversy surrounding the relevance of the traditional approach to job analysis in the current environment. Now, several criteria: reliability, validity, acceptability, and usefulness are provided to assess the viability of the job analysis. Now, the learning objective, after discussing the chapter 4, will be able to explain the importance and the uses of job-based analysis and the relationship of job analysis to internal alignment. And then also will give us insights and will be able to discuss the key differences between job-based, skill-based, and competency-based pay structures, so comparing the three. And the students' learning will also identify and describe the key components of the job-based approach to the job analysis process. Now, the learnings will also give us learnings about discussing the differences between the quantitative and conventional methods to collect job analysis information. Now, the chapter will also equip us and will be able to discuss the impact of globalization on the job analysis. And also, the chapter will help us describe the key criteria to judge job analysis. Okay, the structures based on jobs, people, or both. It is necessary to identify the differences and similarities between similar jobs that are performed across different countries. We need a systematic method to do this and determine. Now, the process for constructing a work-related internal structure is described regardless of the approach used. The process begins by examining people at work. Okay? Now, many ways to create internal structure. Now, what are these? Now, number one is the job-based structures. Look at the task people do and expected outcomes. So, the job-based structures are tasks now people do. Yeah, that's it. And skill and competency-based structures look at the person. Now, the underlying purpose of each phase of the process is the same for all structures. So what are these? No? So number one, collect and summarize work content information that identifies similarities and differences. Number two is to determine what to value. And then number three is to assess the relative value. And then translate the relative value into an internal structure. Now, this chapter and the next chapter focus on the job-based structure. Now, the contemporary job description for registered nurse, for example, is a very good exhibit. No? So, when you say contemporary job description for a registered nurse, it is job-based approach, most common, we call it. Now, the job analysis describes the process of collecting information about the content of job. And this content serves as the input for describing and valuing work. No? So in this case, the description for a registered nurse. Now, how do we determine the internal job structure on this exhibit? No? So first, we define what is job analysis. So job analysis is the systematic process of collecting information that identifies similarities and differences in the work. Now, similarities and differences, there's the stress on it. Now, why perform job analysis? So, number one is potential uses for job analysis have been suggested for every major personnel function. And then often the type of job analysis data needed varies by function. Now, number two is the internal structure based on job-related information provides both managers and employees a work-related rationale for pay differences. And then number three is regarding compensation. Job analysis has two critical uses. And what are these? Number one, it establishes similarities and differences in the work content of the job. And number two, it helps establish an internally fair and aligned job structure. Now, the last, why we perform job analysis, is the key issue for compensation decision makers is to ensure the data collected are useful and acceptable to the employees and managers involved. Now, we go on job analysis procedures. A job analysis collects information about specific tasks or behaviors for each job. Later on, I'm going to be giving you the exhibit 4 that summarizes the key terms associated with job analysis. Now, it is a group of tasks performed by one person, makes up a position. Identical positions make up a job, and broadly, similar jobs combined into a job family. Okay, so that is how the job analysis procedure is. Now, a job analysis terminology. So a very good example is the U.S. federal government has developed a step-by-step approach to conducting conventional job analysis. So how do you go over it? So develop preliminary information, interview job holders and supervisors, and number 3, use the information to create and verify job descriptions. Now, the conventional job analysis procedures, this approach provides a useful how-to guide to job analysis. No? That's the conventional job analysis procedure. No? So there. Now, what information should be collected in relation to conventional job analysis procedures? So, number 1 is the job analysis typically begins with a review of information already collected to develop a framework for further analysis. Although prior information related to a job, for example, job titles, major duties, task dimensions, and workflow information may exist, it may no longer be accurate. Clarification of existing information is necessary and validation for you to come up with the right and proper data analysis. Now, next is the job analysis collects sufficient information to adequately identify, define, and describe a job information collected and is categorized into two areas. So what are these? Related to the job and then related to the employee. So that is a sufficient information already to more or less for us to be able to adequately identify. Again, I will repeat, related to the job and related to the employee informations. Now, the typical data collected for job analysis. So number one is job data. So you identification, job data identification. So that is the typical data collected for job analysis. So first you identify. Example of information that identify a job include job title, department or departments, number of people who hold the job, and whether it is exempt from the Fair Labor Law Standards Act. So these has to be determined. Now another job data identification is careful attention must be paid to a job title as it may mislead employees regarding the actual nature of the job responsibilities. So there will be misconstruction, there will be misrepresentation based on misleading employees by just having a job title that that's vague in function. Next, the typical data collected for job analysis is job data content. Okay, so number one is identification, now the content. So this is the part, or this is the heart of the job analysis even. And it includes the elemental task of or units of work with emphasis on the purpose of each task. Okay, the content, purpose of each task. Okay, next is the communication on the task-based data. In addition to emphasizing the task, the other key characteristics is to include the objective of the task. And then number three, in summary, the task data reveal the actual work performed and its purpose or outcome. Okay? Now, the employee data that are needed are the type of employee behaviors that will result in the expected outcomes is the focus of this part of the analysis. Okay, so another employee data is that the categories of employee data are employee characteristics, internal relationships, and external relationships. Okay, communication, another one is behavioral based data are needed. So what are these? So the position analysis questionnaire, which we PAQ we call it, per position analysis questionnaire. It is the one approach that can be used to analyze jobs. It consists of more or less 194 items and groups work information into 7 basic factors. So what are these? Information input, mental processes, work output, relationships with other person, job content, other job characteristics, and general dimensions. So these are the 7 basic 7 basic contents or factors that are needed now for the job position analysis questionnaire. Now, a more nuanced view of communication focuses on the nature of the interactions required plus the knowledge underlying them. Okay, the interactions are defined as the knowledge and behaviors involved in searching, in monitoring, and coordinating required to do work. Some are transactions or routine, and some are tacit, complex, and ambiguous. Work content that involves more tacit interaction is believed to add greater value than more transactional tasks. And then collecting all the information for a comprehensive job analysis is very expensive. The resulting information may also be too generalized for any single purpose, including compensation. The essential elements and the American with Disabilities Act will provide us concepts about these elements. So number one is the American with Disabilities Act requires that essential elements of a job, those who cannot be reassigned to other workers, must be specified for jobs and employers in the United States covered by the legislation, ADA, the American with Disabilities Act regulations, state that essential function refer to the fundamental job duties of the employment position the individual with a disability holds or desires. Now, if a job applicant can perform the essential element, it is assumed the applicant can perform the job. After that, reasonable accommodations must be made. I'll repeat. Reasonable accommodation must be made to enable an otherwise qualified handicapped to perform those elements. Now, the difficulty of specifying essential elements varies with the discretion in the job and the stability of the jobs given. Now, the law does not make any allowances for special pay taxes or special benefits for people with disabilities. Now, while the law does not require any particular kind of analysis, many employers have modified the format and then descriptions to specifically call out the essential elements. So therefore, no modification for the format, and they're not given special attention to enhance them. And then a lack of compliance places an organization at risk and ignores one of the objectives of the pay model. So see there. Now, on the level of analysis, the level at which analysis of a job begins influences whether the work is similar or different. Now, for example, at the job family levels, several jobs may appear to be similar, yet the job level may they are would be they will are different jobs actually. So they might seem to be similar, but then apparently the job level they are different in terms of jobs. Now, the level at which to begin job analysis is affected by several factors. So what are these? So time and expense of collecting the data, the need for flexibility in designing jobs to accommodate frequent changes in workflow, and the need to provide promotional opportunities. Now, in summary, if the outcomes of job analysis suggest that the jobs are similar, then the job must be paid equally. Again, it must be paid equally. If you determine that there are similars in jobs, and be pay and if the job is different, they can be paid differently. So that's fair, no? Now, how can the information be collected? Now, there is the conventional method. So what are these? The common data collection approaches would include, number one, asking job incumbents to complete the list or answer a questionnaire, and then conducting interviews with the job holders and their supervisors, and then observing observing the job holders at work, and you will have to take notes. Now, the advantages of conventional methods is that the involvement of employees increases while their understanding of where they're processing their understanding about their jobs. However, different perception may arise of the job analysis, and then job holder may result in differences in interpretation or emphasis related to capturing the necessary job data, hence becoming susceptible to bias and favoritism. And conventional methods also are open to potential subjectivity, so there will be biases. So that is the danger. Now, using the quantitative method. So, okay, the quantitative job analysis, no, the QJA, no, as we approach, involves employees completing a questionnaire online. So, the advantages of this approach are statistical analysis of the results, the ability to collect more job data faster, even, and the ability to compare and average the results of several people. Now, the steps in this approach will include job holders are asked to assess each in the questionnaire in terms of whether or not a particular item is part of their job. No? Another one is they are asked to assess the importance of the item to the job and the amount of job time spent on it. And then the responses are machine scored, and the results can be used to develop a profile of the job. Now, many organizations find it practical and cost-effective to modify these existing inventories rather than to develop their own analysis from from the start or from the scratch. And job description will be faulty, if certain important aspects of the job are omitted, or if the job holders do not realize the importance of these aspects. So the implications is that any analysis needs to include good performers to ensure that the work is usually or normally analyzed. Now, who collects the information? So typically, human resource, no? So that's the one. Generalists and supervisor are the key people involved in collecting data. Now, it is recommended the job analysis be done by someone thoroughly familiar now with the organization and its job. So, the familiarity with the territory. And the individual should be trained in how to do the analysis in the proper way. Okay? Now, who provides the information? So, the decision on the source of the data are the job holders. These are potentials, and the supervisors, and of course, the analyst. Depend on how to ensure consistent, accurate, useful, and acceptable data. Even now, expertise about the work resides within the job holders and supervisors. So they are the principal sources, and they should be the principal sources. And then for the key managerial positions or professional jobs or supervisors, two levels up have been suggested. So as a valuable sources, since they are or they have a strategic view of how jobs fit in the overall organization because they are holding it. Now, in some cases, subordinates and employees in other jobs that interface with the job under study are also involved. Now, the number of incumbents per job from which to collect data and selection of these incumbents will depend on the stability of the job, as well as the case of collecting the information. And the completion of the questionnaires require considerable employee and supervisory involvement. And this can increase their understanding of the process, as well as the likelihood the results of the analysis will be acceptable. And this process, however, is going to be expensive. Now, what about the discrepancies? So, to resolve differences and regarding what are included in a job, collect more data, and then enough data are required to ensure consistent, accurate, useful, and acceptable results. Now, holding a meeting of multiple job or holders and supervisors in a focus group to discuss discrepancies, and then asking both employees and supervisors to sign on the revised results and help ensure agreement on both all parties involved and understanding the results. Okay, so that's discrepancies. Now, uh, uh, disagreements is inevitable. So disagreements can be an opportunity to clarify expectations or learn about better ways to do the job and document how the job is actually being performed. Okay, so and then discrepancies also among employees may even reveal uh, that more than one job has been lumped under the same job title. So these are the discrepancies that may arise. And the support of the top management and the union officials is a union in a unionized organization for the job analysis is critical to gain cooperation of employees. Now they know, no, hopefully they know what is strategically relevant, and they must be alerted to the cost of a thorough job analysis, and it is really time consuming. The fact that changes will be involved in all aspects of the interviews, no, and knowing those things. And if they are not willing to seriously consider any changes, the process is probably not worth the bother and expense. So that is for the where discrepancies are coming along. Now we go further. No? The job description summarize the data. Okay. The information collected should be summarized in a format useful for human resource decisions. And the summary is through the job description. Now, what is a job description? So the job description will provide the word picture of the job. It contains the following parts: title, overview or the summary of the job, its relationship to other jobs in the structure, and a list of the essential tasks and responsibilities. And one section of the job description is known as the job specification, and it lists the qualifications, the knowledge, the skills, abilities, and these are necessary to divulge to adequately perform the task. And it can be used as a basis in hiring if the summary is relevant for pay decision and focuses on similarities and differences in content. Now, how do you develop a job description? So by using generic job description. So generic job description can be used to avoid writing them from scratch and to cross-check externally. And even the occupational information network is a readily accessible source for you to be able to understand the position that you are applying for, and then that's it. And the ASA to determine how much compensation is going to be placed, and appropriate. Describing the managerial and professional jobs. Now, how do you do that? So, job description of managerial jobs will include more detailed information on the nature of the job, the scope, and accountability and responsibilities. And a major challenge is that the individual manager will influence the job content even, add, minus, or something like that. It depends, no? And then the job description for this position must capture the relationship between the job, the person performing it, and the organization's objective. So there should be alignment. How the job fits into the organization, and the result expected should also be intended, and the persons performing to bring the job to the efficiency. How do we verify the description of a managerial position? Description for when one is placing a job description for a manager. So the final step in job analysis process is to verify the accuracy of the resulting job description. So how do you do that? No, later we're going to be discussing it further. Now the verification process involves the job holders as well as their supervisors to determine if the proposed job description is accurate and complete. And a line of by line discussion brings to light any omissions, any ambiguities, confusion, and needed clarifications. Okay. Uh, yeah. So there, no. So job description for a nurse, well, is a very good example. So later you will have to develop and just develop a particular job description for us to better understand it, and that would be one of our activities later on. Now, in response to the questions, now what good is job analysis? Now, okay. So there's a source over here, the HRNet, an internet discussion group that is offering different opinions. And so some felt managers have no basis for making defensible work-related decisions without it. Now others call the process of bureaucratic boondoggle. No, I don't know what the term is. Boondoggle. That's it. Okay. Today, many organizations to contain costs no longer perform traditional job analysis. Part of the disagreement related to the usefulness of job analysis centers on the issue of flexibility, no? So flexible, no? So yeah, man of all trades. No? Another reason is that the unknown costs involved are too difficult to justify, and using fewer employees to do a wider variety of tasks and jobs is part of the cost reduction and increased productivity strategy. And streamlining job analysis and reducing the number of different jobs can reduce cost by making work assignment more fluid and flexible. And the generic descriptions that cover a larger number of related tasks can provide flexibility in among uh, people without adjusting pay. In some organizations, analyzing work content is now conducted as part of workflow and supply chain analysis, which looks at how an organization does its work, activities pursued to accomplish specific objectives for a specific customer. Job analysis and globalization. Now, job analysis and the susceptibility to offshoring. What is offshoring? The movement of jobs to locations beyond a country's border, and it is occurring due to the differences in compensation cost, productivity, availability of workers with needed education and skills related, and proximity to customers, and that is location. Historically, manual, low-skill jobs were susceptible to offshoring. Nowadays, white-collar jobs also face the same risk. Now, characteristic of jobs that are most susceptible to outsourcing. So, what are these? It involves inputs and outputs that can easily be transmitted electronically. Require little interaction with other workers even, and require little local knowledge even. It involves work that can be routinized and require little education and training. Now to continue, the jobs that require local knowledge and physical presence have low susceptibility to offshoring. And even jobs on the highly susceptible list have lower growth rates because they have experienced greater offshoring already. And on the other hand, jobs on the lower susceptibility lists show strong growth even. Now, susceptibility to offshoring and projected employment growth. Now, how do we measure it? And job analysis, information, and comparability across borders. Now, how is it? No? So, as firms implement offshoring, there is an increasing need to analyze jobs, to maintain consistency in the job content, and to measure the differences and similarities between jobs. And one challenge is that the norms or perceptions regarding what is and what is not part of a particular job may vary across different countries. Now, how do we judge job analysis? Judging job analysis, no, therefore. So, number one is reliability, no, determining the reliability. And what is reliability? So, it is a measure, no, of consistency of results among various analysts, methods, sources of data, or over time. And then, research and employee and supervisor agreement on the reliability of job analysis information is mixed. For instance, experience may change an employee's perception about a job since the employee may have found new ways to do it or added new tasks, and supervisor may not be aware of the extent of change. And differences in employee performance seem to influence reliability even. Now, quantitative job analysis can help to reduce sources of differences and increasing reliability even. So, quantitative, that's it. And then care must be taken not to disregard the richness of responses while eliminating the differences. And training can also improve reliability measures. Now, the second judging job analysis is validity. Now, how does it goes? Now, validity, it examines the convergence of results among sources of data and methods. And if several job incumbents, supervisors, and peers respond in similar ways to the questionnaires, then it is more likely that the information is valid. So there is consistency on it. Now, however, a sign off on the results may not guarantee the information's validity even. Okay? Now, three is the acceptability. Acceptability by employees and managers is essential for the job analysis to process and to have credibility. Now, dissatisfaction with the data collected or the process may result in lack of acceptance of the resulting job structure or the pay rates attached to the structure. And the quantitative computer-assisted approach may also run into the difficulty of collecting too much information for too many purposes. Okay? Now, currency, to be valid, acceptable, and useful, job information must be up to date. Although, most companies report that they have up-to-date job information. Okay? Now, data that is not up to date hinders compensation practice, decision making, employee selection, training, and development. So, yeah, that's it. If it's not dated, actually. And then, not updated, rather. And most companies do not engage in any regular updating of job analysis information even, but update them when significant changes are believed to have occurred or when the job is being reevaluated for compensation purposes, or maybe promotion. And it may be useful to develop a systematic protocol for evaluating when job information needs to be updated. Now, updated a job description, the usefulness of it. Usefulness is referring to the practicality of the information collected. Now, for pay purposes, job analysis provides work-related information to determine what? How much to pay for a job. Number two is whether the job is similar or different from other jobs. Determination. So, however, job analysis job analysis information is often viewed as useful for multiple HR activities such as hiring and training that may require more information than necessary for the pay structure decisions. Now, rational judgment must play a key role in determining the scope of job analysis. Now, how much job data information to collect and analyzed for the HR activities. Judgment call. a judgment call no, is necessary. While job analysis can be difficult, expensive, and time-consuming, there is no satisfactory substitute to ensure the resulting pay structure will be work-related or will provide reliable, accurate data to make and explain the decision on pay. And then how much detail is needed to make the pay decision, final and executory. It is a judgment call. Enough information is needed to set individual employees' pay and encourage continuous learning and increasing the experience and skills of the workforce and minimize the risk of pay-related grievances or issues. So that is a judgment call on your decision. Okay, so that is how important uh, the chapter no, is coming along no, by understanding the context of a job analysis in context. So therefore, the learnings in today's chapter would give us ample understanding about job analysis. And I look forward to see you again in our next discussion. Thank you and have a good day.